Hi guys, happy 313 and Menorah Day. I wanted to put out a short video about Uranus to wish our planet, also known as Heaven, a happy birthday. Yeah, can you believe it? Supposedly, Uranus was first discovered in God's heavenly temple on March 13th, too, back in 1781. Now this is funny. It says, discovered by William Herschel on March 13th, while in his back garden surveying stars with his telescope that he built himself. Uranus is also the seventh planet from the Sun. And when you count the Sun, she's number 8. And I have her labeled number 8 in my own study notes, as you'll see why in a few minutes. But for those who study ancient texts, we know Uranus was not first discovered on 313 in 1781. I'm sure they have known about Uranus and have tracked that planet's movements for ages. As far as I'm concerned, Luke chapter 2 tells us all about it, in the very scene when Jesus is first presented at the temple in Jerusalem on the 8th day, and Anna was discovered in the temple. Luke 2:36. And there was one Anna, a prophetess, the daughter of Phanuel, of the tribe of Asher. She was of a great age, and had lived with a husband 7 years from her virginity. And she was a widow of about 84 years, which departed not from the temple, but served God with fastings and prayers night and day. And she, coming in that instant, gave thanks likewise unto the Lord, and spake of him to all them that looked for redemption in Jerusalem. Everything that is written in the Bible has great meaning. And often we find many layers within a few simple verses as we take a deeper dive. The name Anna comes from the Hebrew word Hannah, or also written with the CH at the beginning, much like the word Hanukkah, which of course reminds me of our great menorah in the heavens that perfectly formed at the 0 hour today. And there she is, found in the temple in our story, on the 8th day. And I've got her numbered as the 8th too, because Uranus is of the 7, like the menorah here, and is standing right there beside them all in our heavenly lineup in God's temple. We also read that she is a widow of about 84 years. Uranus has an orbit of 84 years. And Luke tells us that she lived with a husband for 7 years. And that's also Uranus, because she spends 7 years in each constellation on her journey of making the rounds around God's temple in heaven. And it says she departed not from the temple, but served God night and day. I just think it is so amazing that we find her, the planet Uranus, which in Greek is the word Uranus, the word translated as heaven, used 284 times in the New Testament. And we find her standing right there next to the menorah in the temple of God, just like in Luke's story. If the menorah is our 7 great luminaries and the 7 spirits of God that the book of Revelation is talking about, then Anna or Uranus is right there taking her place too as number 8. It's just so crazy that she was supposedly discovered on 313 in history, and this menorah was formed on 313 of all days. 3 candles, 1 candle, 3 candles of the menorah on 313. And Uranus is absolutely a prophetess in her own right, being totally eclipsed by a blood moon the very night before the famous Night of Broken Glass, which historians say was the prelude to the Holocaust. It seems a very bad sign in the heavens. And those blood moons that were eclipsing her happened right between the feet of Aries too, exactly where the sun traversed during those 3 days that Jesus was in the tomb. And then, exactly 84 years later to the day, it happened again. Our planet called Heaven was totally eclipsed by a blood moon in that exact same spot on November 8th of 2022. And then, exactly 333 days later, the war began in Israel. Now that's quite a prophecy from our prophetess in the temple. And speaking of war, we've already had a good look at where Uranus was during the crucifixion, and that was standing right next to our king star Regulus in the heart of Leo. Heaven in the heart of Leo when they put Jesus into the tomb. And that's also about where the sun was during our first great American eclipse too, right next to the king star Regulus for that huge sign. For this heavenly lineup of the menorah, we see that King Jupiter has taken his spot right where the sun was on Crucifixion Day too. And he already passed through the waters of Aquarius, exactly 777 days before Nisan 1 this year. So King Jupiter got filled with wrath way back on 2/22/22. And it takes nearly 2 days for Jupiter to completely cross the line. Slow to speak, slow to wrath. And when he did finally cross the line, a major invasion happened on 2/24/22. And it's been all-out war over there ever since. And if you ask me, Uranus, our planet called Heaven, is also filled with wrath, as I imagine those fires of God's altar are raging right now. So, what is our prophetess standing next to the menorah in God's temple telling us now? Well, the exact location that she is standing at today is exactly the place where the sun was standing on the 8th day after the crucifixion. And we first found her in the temple on the 8th day in Luke's Gospel, when Jesus was first presented at the temple. All these 8th days, God is so amazing. And speaking of 8 days, according to the temple dedication at Hanukkah, the menorah will burn for 8 days and 8 nights too. I have this alignment clocked from Hiroshima and starting at midnight last night, or the 0 hour on 3/13. So 8 days and nights would get us to late on the 20th. It looks like the equinox will be occurring late at night on the 19th. And I see that the almanac is showing that for me, the equinox will happen around 3 a.m. on the 20th. Pretty amazing timing, that being the 8th and final day that a menorah stays lit. Then, as I showed in my last video, Venus number 5 will be filling herself up with wrath on March 22nd. And from where I'm sitting, that's going to occur at around 6:66 a.m. Yeah, on those famous numbers of 322 as well. Sunrise in this scene will be at 7:11 a.m. So Venus will be going through those waters of Aquarius about 45 minutes before sunrise. Perhaps Venus number 5 is really those 5 foolish virgins who arrived at the tomb, address number 322. And as you know, the Skull and Bones fraternity's meeting place really was called the tomb, too. So wouldn't it be great if we all disappeared around the equinox, and all that was discovered about 30 minutes before sunrise on 322, when everyone finally figures out what happened, was empty clothes, and the entire body of Christ simply vanished? Now that would be a great story.